Welcome to The Bridge. Fun conversations on culture, life, and everything in between.
Welcome to The Bridge. We are a show that connects East and West. My name is Jason, and I'm originally from California, but now I am living in beautiful Wuhan, China. Today with me is Alex Schur.
Hello, everybody. This is Alex Schur. I am from the northeast part of China, and I am speaking to everybody today from Beijing, China.
Find us where you get your podcasts. If you like the show, then consider pushing the like button or giving us 5 stars. Suggestions, comments, anything you would like to share, email us at welovethebridge@gmail.com. We love the bridge. I want to talk about Netflix, like cinema, because you may have heard Netflix took a huge nosedive in the stock market. So I didn't actually get the one where it shows 40% dive, but I found this article. It's Netflix identified 4 uncontrollable issues that will keep bleeding subscribers in a long letter to investors, April 19th on Yahoo Finance. And so it talks about how they were hoping to get 2.5 million new subscribers in the first quarter of this year, but they actually lost 200,000. And now, in the reverse, they're expecting to lose 2.7 million more subscribers. And so, Netflix has been the giant in this corner of the internet for a while, the one everyone went to, and everything seems to be changing now.
They absolutely were disruptive in the very, very beginning. And my reason for it, I haven't left it yet, but if I did leave, it'd be for the fact that they raised their price again. And it's getting a little bit more. And, in the beginning, they're like, oh, people loved the idea of paying, a very small amount of monthly fee to be able to watch a lot of stuff, in high definition, instant streaming, original. Well, in the beginning, they were not doing
original
so much
content.
Original content, but they started. So for me, I think a lot of people are getting a little bit fed up or a little bit unhappy about the fact that they have to, because they are a streaming platform and they have whatever server capabilities they have to swap out TV shows or movies from I think months to months or season to season. So there are content on Netflix that attracted people to that platform in the first place, and then they just get rid of it. And it's
you might be a fan of a particular show, and then a couple months later, that show is not there.
Yeah, and then that's not completely Netflix's fault, but because of the way they advertise themselves or where they positioned themselves on the market, when you take things away, people are not going to think from your perspective. For example, when they took off the American Office, is because NBC took back the streaming rights. But for the customers, they're, for people who watch Netflix for The Office on repeat, they're not gonna be like, oh yeah, I understand that you have like a financial decision to make.
I mean, there's so many different angles to look at this from, so you're obviously talking about the reality of Netflix, but I hate to bring it up, but a lot of people still pirate a lot of content. USBs are passed around, people torrent, and then they pass USBs around. Like, so a lot of content, you don't even need to go to Netflix. One of the things that Netflix is famous for is that a lot of folks will share the same account. So one person, the responsible member of the family, be it mom or whoever, the older sister, will have the account, and then they will share the account password with like 10 people or something, and then everyone has like access to Netflix essentially. And so Netflix is retooling its like payment plans, and one of the things it's looking at is a plan where you can share your account with a certain designated amount of other folks. And another thing they're doing is like, I guess it's Netflix plus minus. I don't know what they're going to call it, but it's like essentially where you're okay with watching commercials sometimes. So you pay less, but then you have to watch commercials occasionally. So like, I guess that is going against its original model too. And it's having to retool, not just because of torrenting, but because there's a ton of competition entering in the market.
Yeah, because everybody's competing to be the plus. Disney Plus, HBO Plus, Netflix Plus. I don't know where the market is going with that whole situation, because I do think making it more expensive and then making it a family shared plan isn't going to solve their problem of losing customers. Because I think Apple is doing the same thing. when not just for streaming, for like purchasing apps and other
Mm-hmm.
customer actions, I don't think people feel like they're saving so much just because I could share it with, especially when you share it with your family, it's like,
Yeah.
well, you could have spent that much money on me anyways. Like for the money that we share on a Netflix subscription fee, that'd be like, a Christmas gift. And you don't stay grateful to the Christmas gifts you got all year round. You're only happy on the day when you receive that gift. So
For me, I think the market, you said we don't know where we're going with the future. I think they don't know too. I think this, Apple and Paramount and Netflix and Amazon and Hulu and HBO and Disney, and apparently CNN Plus just was a total nightmare and disaster, and it's going out. Goodbye, CNN Plus. That was like one of the funnier blips on the radar. This is the future
Yeah.
of CNN. Oh, no, it's not. We're going to close it after like a few weeks.
Just kidding.
Just kidding. But anyways, I think what's happening is people at home are becoming more brand aware of like, okay, these are the kind of movies I like. Okay, now I actually am paying attention. These are the kinds that are made by Paramount. So maybe I'm into Paramount. I didn't even know that before. So I think people are right now, most people, we talk about the economy and how people are struggling, so people are jumping around. They're only having one kind of account and then they're switching to a different kind of account. And they're experimenting with what they like. And so, you're going to end up with like some people who are into Disney and some people who are into Netflix,
Yeah.
but they don't know where they belong yet. And except, bougie folks who's just got like all of them or whatever. But you know what? I actually remember Hulu from like, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago. Hulu's ancient.
That many years ago?
Oh yeah, Hulu has been around.
Huh.
It ended up getting bought up like a majority share or all close to it by Disney over the past few years. But like, and that's weird because they have Disney Plus. But like, it's actually existed on its own independently as like an entity out there in the cyber world for a very, very long time. And what's interesting, some of these companies, they don't need to stream their services. So Disney, let's start with them. They own parks. They have movies that go to the theaters and all this stuff. I think Disney Plus is just one revenue stream for them. And Paramount has, parks, and it has its own, it makes movies and it is cinema. And so Paramount Plus is another revenue. The thing about Netflix is it is just Netflix. Like, where's the rest of its revenue? Nowhere. So when they lose subscribers, they're not just like, well, don't worry, we own all this other content. They just have their one main revenue stream.
I think all of these platforms do know one thing, that it's the content that's the important part, because they never, if you think about it, these platforms, they never advertise themselves for like faster, more high def, or they don't even care about like user experience so much, or like you can watch it on however many devices. It's always content, and the trend of recent years is they're just competing for content. And exactly like you said, because HBO or Disney, because HBO is a network, and Disney and all of these other competitors, they have their other revenue streams. I really kind of give my hats to Hulu, even though Hulu kind of quieted down a little bit in recent years. I still felt, because Hulu was trying to make good original content as well. I actually liked some of the Hulu original content, but I guess have the capital or the capacity to go as far as Netflix did to compete in the Oscars, or build a Hulu park. So there's some like genetic,
No, just think about the Hulu
shortcomings.
park.
What would be in a Hulu park?
Yeah, no, that's just a really funny idea.
I know.
Now they all need to build their own parks: the HBO park, the Hulu park, the Netflix park. It's really interesting. I have a streaming service. I'm in China, obviously. We already said that. And I have a streaming service. It's not any of these because China has its own streaming service. I have a Xiaomi box, which pays for content, and then I can watch certain movies that get updated and taken down. Most of it's Chinese, but there are thousands of options of American movies, British movies, Japanese movies, Korean movies, and on and on and on, Indian movies. But like, I never actually turned the TV on, even though I have a TV. I can watch TV. I could go watch TV, and there are movies on TV, and there are TV channels with movies and stuff. Like, I think, this is really interesting. The big trend is away from traditional television and towards everything device, computer, your laptop, your phone. And I think that's really, really just interesting, because when I grew up, that didn't exist like at all. So it was just like me turning the dial that would go click, 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 and dad saying, no, go one more channel, click, click, and then they had remote controls and it was like, wow, we're in the future. They have remote controls. And then little did I know how much things were going to change.
Yeah, my parents would ask me, I would recommend TV shows to them to watch, Chinese TV shows as well. I would recommend a TV show, and then the first question they asked me is, which channel is it on?
They had the TV guide. Have you ever heard the TV guide? It's every week or month or something, you would buy a book at the grocery store for like very cheap, 50 cents or $1 or whatever. And then it would tell you which television shows were going to be on what channels and what time for the next week or month. So then you would just like, okay, I want to watch whatever. I don't know what they had back then. I don't even remember. But like they would, okay, guess there's a movie on. We're going to watch E.T., kids. It's going to be on channel 13,
Yeah.
like on Tuesday at 8 o'clock. You can stay up late. So that was how it used to be. Now you just like, I want to watch this movie. Which platform is it on? Disney made some really good choices because Disney Plus would not be successful without Marvel.
True.
Like, who's going to buy like a program just for kids movies? Like, I'm sure there are lots of adults who like just kids movies, but like mostly just kids. But like, because of Marvel, they're able to like appeal to adults too,
Yeah, I mean, also Disney Plus is just kind of, I've always said this, like the industry that involves kids is probably the most profitable industry because the parents would have to buy it.
Cinema, actual real cinema. Do people go to the cinema, Alex?
Yes, people do.
I mean, people in my generation, we go because we're, old, but do young people still go?
Yeah, definitely.
Do people see, when I was a kid, when I was younger, people went to the cinema because it was a big deal even, it was like, okay, I'm an 18, 19-year-old boy, girl, or I want to take out this other person and see if they like me. And we're going to go to a movie and maybe have dinner or something. And it was a date. Like we're going to the movies. It was kind of like for teenagers, it's like the big deal date because that's where you could go. You're obviously not going to the symphony.
Yeah.
So like, is that something that still happens? Young people, they like go on dates to the movies?
I think so. We see young kids in theaters from time to time, even though we haven't been to the theater for a while.
Did you go to, you said you went to see Dune. Did you go see Dune?
Yes. Oh my God, I did. And that's the most crowded I've ever seen a cinema in China.
Huh.
It was because people, I guess they schedule the screenings pretty close to each other. So by the time we got there, people haven't really completely left yet from the last screening. Also, it's a large screening room. So it was packed. The concession area, and then we first check in. It's literally like brushing shoulders.
Wow. We went in the daytime. We went like at the earliest showing. It was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And it was still like there were like 50 people there in a theater that could probably hold 200 or 300. So yeah, it was like wow, 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock, and it's like people, because my wife and I, we like to go in the daytime when people are not there. And usually it's just like us and like another couple or like some random dude, but like this time it was like, there's some folks here. Like what's going on? Wow. So I think Dune must have done pretty well. I haven't actually looked at the numbers.
Either, but yeah.
I used to work at a movie theater for 2 years when I was getting my master's degree. I was like, I want some extra money for like, dressing up and like drinking a beer occasionally kind of thing. So I got a job at this movie theater called Century Theaters. I don't know if I know the theater is still there. I don't know if it's still the same company. It was in just south of San Francisco. There's a place called Daly City. That's the city just south of San Francisco. And like right there. It's like literally you cross the border between these two cities and it's right there. And I worked there like part-time. I don't remember how many hours. It was about 20 hours a week. And I was this super motivated guy because I hadn't had a job in like a year because I was like, I'm going to focus on my learning. And so I was like, hey, and people would walk up and they would say, do you know what movie's good? And I would like, because you could watch free movies if you worked at the movies. I would watch them all. And I was like very descriptive and telling them all these stories. And so people would literally, I'm bragging now, very much so. People would line up to go to my line because they were like, this is the guy.
I thought you were going to say people were lining up to listen to me tell them the stories about the movies instead of
yeah. Well, so they could. No, not instead of watching it. No, but to know what to watch. I was trying to be the salesman. Anyways, I got promoted like after a month or something.
Look at you.
And I was like upstairs. I was upstairs and I was like, I want to tell some stories. So people may not know this. So I want to tell you guys some tricks and secrets about the movie industry, when you're going to see a movie, at least in the States. So people would come up and complain, like there were kids and they were kicking the back of my seat, or they would walk up and say, we got here 10 minutes late because we misunderstood your website is confusing, kind of stuff like that. And I guarantee you, it's like 2/3 of the time we just give those people free tickets.
What?
2/3 of the time someone comes with a complaint, as long as they're, being constructive and positive, they're not like swearing or whatever. They're not being, if you're not being a tool and you have a legitimate complaint and you really are just seeking some kind of redress, like, and you're being, constructive about it, like almost always, like more than half of the time, they're just going to give you 2 free tickets to come back.
Wow. For future shows, not for, wow. It's,
For future shows, we would give them like these 2 tickets you could redeem at the ticket office for whatever movie you want.
If that was the same case in New York, I probably would have figured out something. Just look at their websites and just keep looking for problems and mistakes and get free tickets all the time.
Also, hopping from movie to movie. This is something people, it's technically not something that the management cares a lot about, but the individual employees find it really fun to catch those people. So like the people working at these theaters, it's because they're so bored. They're just standing there for 2 hours, So they're really paying like James Bond style attention to what's going on. And they're like, we caught 2 people over here. And then they get the security. And the security is like, okay, let's go. And like, because he just wants to stand outside or whatever.
Yeah, my friend has
they will bust them. Yeah,
my friend has suggested us trying that. I was like, I am too timid. I'm too scared to do that. I don't want to be. It'd be so embarrassed for me to get caught. But they're like, if you get caught, you just leave. That's not a big deal.
Yeah, that's what they'll just say, please leave. And if you're cool about it and you're like, oh, I'm so sorry, and you leave, that's fine. You leave. But if you're like there are sometimes teenagers don't know how to be cordial. So teenagers especially will get really hostile and aggressive and like, no, I paid for this. And then it's like, okay, may I see your tickets?
Yeah.
I lost my tickets, man. I dropped them outside. And then those kids sometimes get a ban.
Oh.
So like, if you're aggressive with the staff, you'll get like, oh, we don't want you to come back here kind of stuff.
So basically just be an adult.
Yeah, basically be cool, and things generally were going to go better for you than like if you're not cool. That's basic like going to restaurant manners too, right? If you're respectful to the staff's going to respect you and help you with your problems. The same thing with a movie theater. There are no hard and fast rules typically, that I found. It was more like, is this person being like really confrontational? Well, do we want them here? No, we don't. Don't come back. But also they generally don't keep photos of people they've banned. So it's like the memory of those people. And people in movie theaters, there's a very high turnover rate. No one's staying there to be the popcorn concession guy for like 2 years,
Yeah.
So they're not going to be around if you come back in a year anyway.
Don't even bother building relationships.
Yeah. Even the management in movie theaters, they're really demoralized. I found my bosses there were like, I'm getting out of this. And I was, well, why? Because the future's not cinema, Jason. Everyone's got their home theater, which reminds me, one of our producers asked me to tell people that, she loves movies, and she wanted me to say that one of her friends have 2 kids, and one is 10 years old and the other 6. And she had a moment when she realized it was time to set up a home theater. So her husband also did the same thing, and they set up a home theater. So you get the big speaker that's like for the low, and then you have 2 options. One is the stereo, and one is surround. So surround takes 6 speakers, and you put some behind you and stuff. And if you have like a projector and you close the blinds or whatever, in America the blinds don't work as well as China. In China, we pull this big cloth, like super thick thing over the light, and all the light. It is like nighttime in the day. In America, you just like turn this thing and it like closes the blinds, and you could still see the light bleeding through. Yeah. But that's not China. China, you can make it nighttime in the middle of the day, and so projectors are really good here. Another thing I want to add is I saw this new technology that's coming out in preparation for this show, and it's a normal projector, but instead of just pointing it at a white wall or like a white screen that you pull down, they have like a special film. And so It's like very thin. It's like a, saran wrap thin film that you pull this down. And when the projector hits it, it makes it look like a television, like that brilliant. So,
Yeah.
you know, people who are considering buying a big flat screen TV, maybe it's not the time because tech's about to change, guys.
I am actually in the process of getting one of those things because it's so much easier. I don't have to drill anything on the wall because I don't want to, technically we could drill a couple holes and then mount the big actual screen, the one that scrolls down
Mm.
with the remote control. But I don't want to piss off my landlord. And I saw that little screen thing. I saw their advertisement on Douyin, and I'm like, this is, you know what, this is good enough for me. It like you said, it looks like a screen, like a window screen.
Mm.
It's soft, and you could lift it up to see the difference.
Mm.
And there's another type of projector that I really want to try. You know how we have to put the projector opposite to where the wall is, like
Mhm.
away from the wall for it to project onto the wall, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen those ones? I think they're Xiaomi projectors as well. They're called the wall projectors. You put it
Mhm.
against the wall, like immediately against the wall, because it projects
Mhm.
up like automatically.
Mm. I have seen similar technology in
I
classrooms.
love that.
So yeah, they have this in classrooms. They do that. There's a projector that projects down, and the bulb is shaped very irregularly
Mm.
so that it can project all the light where it's supposed to go, because it's just essentially a very complex prism. Yeah, that's really neat. That's really, really cool stuff. And
Yeah.
amazing, because you don't have to like someone gets up to go to the kitchen, right? And they
And you
walk in
see,
front of
yep.
the light. Yeah, that's the advantage for me. Like, I don't want someone blocking, 2 seconds of my action movie or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I might not know why the yellow car turned the
It
corner.
ruins the whole thing.
You say, I want to try a different kind. So you're saying you do have a projector.
Yes, I do. I have one that's I bought it. Oh wow, I bought it 3.5 years ago.
Mm.
So I guess I could pardon the little bulb problem that it's having. It's a projector that has speaker built in, and it's a Harman speaker, so it actually sounds pretty good.
Mm.
So
Mm.
that's why when you were saying like people put like surround sound or whatever, our friends, they did that with their apartment. And it's not a huge apartment. Their problem is actually, pretty cozy. The
Mm.
living room is relatively much smaller. Like if the five of us sit there, we're basically right right in front of the TV, the big screen TV, and they built
Mhm.
the surround sound in that, living room that they have. It's all great, but for me, it really only, for me to do that, I would constantly need to invite people over to have. No, really, like I really need to have friends over, and we really need to. It needs to be like nighttime, and we need to all have like a glass of wine, some chips and popcorn in our hands to have that kind of feeling, like
Mm.
an actual home theater. But when I just want to watch a movie at home, like my speaker does
Mm.
all the
Mm.
job.
Well, I wanted to compare a little bit about things that are different and similar between China and the United States. Home theaters, going to the movie theater experience. And one thing I want to point out to our American listeners is that the way that the movie is paid for in China is very different than the way it's paid for in America. So like in America, you're not supposed to bring in outside food, because the movie theater almost exclusively makes its money from the revenue from soda, popcorn, snacks, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Whereas in China, that's not the case. So literally you could like walk out of the theater in China and buy like, anything you want, Starbucks, whatever it is, like a big pizza if you really wanted to, and you
Mm.
just walk straight into the theater. No one's going to stop you in China. So you could just be sitting there in the movie theater with a pizza box and like 2 cups of Starbucks if you really wanted to, and no one would care, because the way that revenue is generated is
Mm.
completely different in China. I think it's okay because for China they generate revenue, the movie theater, partially from ticket sales. And part of the reason that's okay is China has more cinemas than any country in the world.
Wow.
And that's why a lot of, Hollywood movies and stuff try to appeal sometimes to Chinese audiences. Because they're like, oh, we need to get this in China because there's like so many people that might potentially see this movie.
Yeah, but that still is a little bit surprising for me to hear that we have more
Mm.
cinemas. But I guess we do have more cities, and then in the bigger, first or second tier cities, there are a lot of
Mm.
cinemas. We don't have, I think we haven't really, the cinema scene hasn't really reached cities that are like, fourth tier or fifth tier,
Mhm.
if there is a fifth tier
I
cities.
think people are also confused about the tier system because maybe you and I we take it for granted.
That's
What
true.
what do you mean? What are we talking about? What is this tier system, Alex?
First tier cities are basically cities that we could all name. If you've lived in China, you could all name them: Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Tianjin, Guangzhou, including I guess like Nanjing. But second tier would basically be like bigger cities, capital cities of China.
Jinan.
Shandong, Jinan, yeah, I think so. Jinan is the
Yeah.
capital,
I don't they're not first.
right?
So they must be second,
They're
right?
second tier. Jinan should be second tier. And I think, I'm not sure about Wuhan. Wuhan is probably first tier because it's your,
It was upgraded last year at the end of the year to being technically first tier.
yeah.
But I think, there's a difference between like I'm not really sure what the qualifications are for first tier. I don't think it's just population.
No, it's not.
Because I love Wuhan, and don't get me wrong, Wuhan's great and there's
Yeah.
lots of places to go, but it is not Beijing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
of course it's still very different. So like, okay, so first tier cities is really only the four, like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen, and then all of the other cities that you could name.
That's the way it used to
that
be.
you know.
Yeah, officially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's any other names that you know. Oh wow. I'm sorry, I just pulled some information
You
up.
got this official information.
Yes, there are actually 18 first tier cities.
Wow.
北京、上海、广州、深圳、武汉、南京、成都、重庆、杭州、天津、苏州、长沙、青岛、西安、郑州、宁波、无锡、大连. To our listeners,
Sounds like you're doing a Chinese
I
tongue
know.
twister.
I started reading the first three, and I was like, it'll sound really cool if I finish the list. So I just finished that. But these cities, I think they all have quite a large number of cinemas. In Beijing, like I don't know if you've looked at I don't know if you ever used the ticket app when you buy.
Yes, I
and then
do.
you could go to the map mode and look at where the cinemas are, and it's just like all over the city.
Everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's pretty insane. I guess the number of cinema in Beijing probably is like the total of, I don't know, certain states maybe.
Or countries, yeah. Because the population of Beijing is somewhere between 21.8
Yeah.
official million and 26. And like that's 4 times the population of Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, the country. So I'm pretty sure that Beijing probably has more movie theaters than the entire country of Ireland. So, or Malaysia or something, some countries. So it's pretty interesting, So yes, absolutely. There are a ton of cinemas here. And so movies oftentimes try to get into China because if they can even get a fraction of the Chinese market, that's an enormous amount of money. And that affects ticket sales, which is why in China it's okay for you to bring food from outside because the way that they sell the tickets is very different from America.
Yeah.
In America, people are like think they're sneaky because they've got like a candy bar in their pocket and they're hoping no one's gonna frisk them. It's like really bizarre.
I don't remember if I've tried to do that. Maybe I'm pretty sure. Oh, okay. We did that. We tried to do that and we did it. It was when we went to watch it, we brought like M&Ms and other kind of chocolate or whatever candy that we brought. We just put it in like super deep into, because they open your I think they open your bags and see.
What? I haven't had that. Wow.
I think so.
Let me check in your purse, ma'am. This is a little invasive.
I know, but they did that. They did that in China as well for some cinemas, and then I've realized that they stopped doing it in recent years. So they don't really care anymore. They're like, as long as you come, if you want to bring other food, as long as it's not too, it doesn't have a super strong smell, it should be okay.
Durian, slicing it in the middle of the theater,
like instant noodles. Let's have a meal.
I've seen all kinds of stuff. Yeah, so I think it's very different. Anyways, I think that's interesting. But another thing I notice is popcorn quality. I'm not trying to diss China. Everyone knows I love China, but the quality of popcorn in China is not the same as the States. The States, it's very they have different flavors and different like things you can put on them, and like it's very fresh. And sometimes if you go to the wrong theater, I should say, in China, it's like, all we have is like this popcorn that we made like 3 hours ago. It's like,
this is the thing. I am not promoting it because it's not healthy, but I do miss salty popcorns with butter spilled all over them. Oh my God. I miss that so much. And then you put, can't remember what it's called, but it's like those little, not Maltese, but they're smaller and they're like little sweet chocolate balls, and you mix that with the popcorn with the butter. Oh my god, it's like heart attack right in a box, but
Yeah,
you're like very
exactly. This stuff
happy.
is not healthy.
It's very not healthy. I agree. It's unhealthy, but I miss it. I super miss it.
There's a place in Berkeley, south of the university, near the subway, and like they have this little tiny theater that plays like, you know, indie movies and, you know, international movies, so
Mhm.
like European, Chinese, Japanese movies and stuff. And they have like this popcorn, I guess, like dressing center, and they have like cheddar cheese powder,
Wow.
and they have like, you know, wasabi powder, and you could make your pop. So after they butter it and make it really unhealthy, so you're gonna die soon, then you can add all kinds of special flavors so that you
So
die
you die with
a very
curiosity.
lovely, yeah, like, wow, this is such a great death. Ah.
Oh my god. I think that's a perk as well for those like you know, more independent cinemas, and they have there are a couple of those in New York as well that we would constantly visit, and they all have some sort of there was one I remember towards the end of my stay in New York. There was another cinema that opened closer to our campus on 13th Street and between 4th and 5th, or between 3rd and 4th, I can't remember, but they just have like really interesting decorations and just great styles and very futuristic. And that was like they have to do that to attract more people, I guess.
Snacks. So that's a huge difference. But, you know, I wanted to see if you had a very exceptionally positive or exceptionally negative experience going to cinema anywhere, you know, any country around the world in your lifetime that you'd like to share with our listeners, because I think these are interesting stories.
I don't know if I have an extremely negative experience or extremely positive experience, but I will share this one kind of annoyance. You know, I really don't like it when people talk so loud when I'm watching a movie. I get it. And then sometimes they're not, you know, if you're like taking a phone call in the middle of a movie, I know some other people will probably try to stop you as well. It's those people who are trying to be so nice to their friends or their partners and they start explaining it. Or they're like, I had this couple sitting behind me once, and then when we were watching a movie, everybody's like super invested in what was happening at the moment. And the guy just went, "Oh, did you see that? Did you see that? That means this is." I'm like, "Oh my god, stop it!" It's so annoying. I was so annoyed, but I couldn't say anything. I didn't have the heart to just be like, "Stop being nice to your girlfriend," or "Stop."
I had a similar experience to that, actually. I didn't think of it until just now, but there were some kids. I guess they were like 13 or 14. There were 3 or 4 of them. I don't remember exactly, but they were like really, really loud and noisy in the theater,
Yeah.
like exceptionally, you know what I mean? And like I wasn't going to do anything about it because I'm not that guy, but I was definitely annoyed. And anyways, at some point, someone else went and got the security, and the security came in and watched for a minute, and then they came and escorted those kids out, and there was a standing ovation in the theater.
Wow, that bad, huh?
Yeah, people were like, yay, cheering and standing. And then the movie continued silent. I mean, even people who may have been whispering before, they knew this was a special moment to just be very, very quiet.
Yeah.
And the rest of the movie was just completely silent.
Which is good. Speaking of management stepping in, I guess I really missed this one place in New York, and I think they have it in LA as well, but they only have, I think, 5 or 6 cinemas in the country, but they're very, very popular. It's the Alamo Draft House. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Never. No,
It's a very simple concept. It's just you could eat while you watch movies, and when I say eat, it means you could order a whole meal. They have a kitchen, they have a proper kitchen, and they figured out a way to get your orders without being very disruptive. And it's not like dinner table, it's like a line of like a long table, but the seats are more spaced out because you do have to eat and you can't just elbow other people while you're eating. And I love that place. They have the screening room is much bigger because I guess they have to pack it out so that people could order drinks and food to make their investment, you know, worthwhile. So the screen is bigger, and usually we could get tickets that are closer to the front. And I love going to that place.
You know, you reminded me there are other kinds of special places. I'm not sure what the United States has now because it's been a
Mm.
while I've really gone to theaters, like specialized theaters. But in China, you have all these really, really specialized niche kind of places. And in Chongqing,
Hmm.
I saw this YouTuber. She went into like a massage room that she basically rented for the day. And there are two huge massage chairs that can convert into like
A bed.
partial sinks and stuff where they can open up where her feet go. And there's like a sink and she can pay for massages and stuff. And the entire wall is like a movie theater. And like she can choose what movie she wants to watch. You could have a partner there and like you can have unlimited kinds of different Chinese snacks come to the room.
Wow.
And you basically you pay one flat fee to get into this facility. And then whatever you want while you're in there for the time that you've rented it, you get as many massages of whatever kind you want. You get as many movies of whatever you want. You get as much snacks as whatever you want. Like, and you just pampered like the entire time that you're
Are they
there.
profitable?
I guess it's not cheap, you know, to pay the fee to be there. So you're sitting there thinking, can I squeeze more food in? Anyways,
Yeah.
in Beijing, I know, and so this must be around in different places. You can rent an entire small theater with you and your friends.
Yeah.
So they'll have like
private
these
ones,
big, they have the big, comfy, super comfy leather couch seats, right? And you can do whatever you want in there. And like, so you and your 10 friends go in and like rent a whole theater and stuff. But there are also really small ones. There's a place in Sanlitun. It's in the mall on the second or third floor. There's a private movie theater place where you can go in and it's like a couple room.
Yes.
So you go, you have your own sofa and a TV. It's like your own living room, I guess. But
Yeah.
maybe this is for like my parents live at home and I'm going on a date. I don't want mom and dad to see me making out. I don't know. But so like you go to this place in Sanlitun and they have all kinds. They don't have just movies that are out now. You could like watch, you know.
You could choose the
I don't
movie.
know.
Yeah.
You can choose any movie from like the 1970s. You want to watch something old, you can. And then you go and essentially have your own private living room where you hang out and watch a movie.
I think you could, for that one, I think you could only, I think you have to pick the movie before you go in, and then that's the movie you're going to watch. And when that movie ends, your time is up. So there's another one that I haven't been to. It's next to the dance studio that I go to every week. And it's like it's called a pod theater. Basically, I don't know how, it seems like that pod would only be able to host like 2 people tops at the same time, or it's more for like an individual experience. But you go into this thing that it's a standalone thing, like a space pod, you know, that the pod that astronauts come back to Earth in. Yeah, and then you go in there for a viewing experience. I should definitely check it out and let you know what it feels to be inside the pod and watch a movie. And
well, actually, I still want to go to the one in Sanlitun. Like my wife and I, we were walking around there and we were like, "Wow, what is this?"
I've been
But
there.
I think we had plans or something. Oh, you're saying don't go?
I mean, it's okay. It's not that, I don't know. It's not that exciting or anything. It's just a room. I'm a little not germophobic, but you know, I like, I don't know. You know, people could have puked or drank in here and whatever. I don't know, because it's literally you go to the front, you pick a movie, and then the person goes, "Oh, room, I don't know, 804, go," and you're like, "Okay," and you go, and then you wait for them to put the movie on. And I don't remember about the other service there.
There's got to be snacks or something.
Probably, but it's not cheap. I think the movie costs about 400 or something.
Oh my goodness, really?
Yeah, it's pretty pricey. So it's really, I don't think it's
that's
worth,
like $80 for people listening.
I know,
at home.
I don't think it's worth the
I just want to do it because I want to have done it one time. So I'm definitely with that guy who's like, okay, I need to do skydiving once. I want to do everything one time. Like I probably wouldn't buy a motorcycle because, death or like, stuff. But like I would definitely want to like ride a motorcycle, and be like, okay, I've done that, which I haven't. But, that's something I want to do before like,
going on the list.
Gray hairs start popping out of my head. Exactly. It's on the bucket list, I believe it's called. Oh, why? Because you kicked the bucket? That's sad. Oh, man. So I wanted to ask you this, because obviously you are, I don't want to give away your age, but you've been around a while.
That's okay.
When you were a young teenager, let's say late teens or whatever, how would you depict movies in China have changed from that time to now?
A lot.
And, could you describe a Chinese movie theater from 15 years ago?
15 years ago, we were going to that movie theater in Wangfujing, and it feels like 15 years ago. It feels what like the movie theater situation feels like what movie theater situation is right now in like New York, maybe. Let's say it's there are a couple of big ones, and those are the only places that you would go to. Because I remember for 15 years ago, it's 2007, right? I think that's before I went to college. I remember watching Batman.
Which Bat?
No, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
I forgot that guy's name. Not Tony Parker. Tony Parker.
Tobey Maguire.
Oh, Tobey Maguire. Sorry, Tony Parker is the basketball player. Tobey Maguire. It was his Spider-Man, and I had to leave. I had to leave because I had to go home because my parents didn't like me hanging out with my friends.
What was wrong? I'm sorry. What was wrong with your friends?
I don't think there's anything wrong with my friends.
They weren't as nerdy and academic. Your parents are like,
I wasn't nerdy.
They don't have high enough math scores for you, Alex.
I wasn't nerdy. No, they just didn't. They just always thought the world is super dangerous for me.
Other people, oh no.
Pretty much. It's pretty much like that, whether I liked it or not. But I watched half of the movie and I left. But that was, I think, I could only remember that one time going to the movie, which was like, active decision that I made that like, okay, we're going to the movie. And that's 15 years ago. But nowadays it's like, I'm mapping out all the movies I want to watch beforehand. When is it coming out? In August? Okay, I think on this day we're going to go to the movie and see which movie theater are we going to? We're going to the film museum to see the movie. Yes, sure, let's do that because they have the best IMAX in the city. Wow. I'm able to, like, back then it's just like, go and see a movie. It's a very singular decision. Now it's like there are 20 different elements you want to take into consideration.
Wow.
Can we find one? Yeah, can we find one that's closer to us? Does it have the proper screening time? Because there might be other places that have proper screening time. And this movie theater is next to other restaurants that we like to go to. We could go there. After this movie theater has a Taco Bell right under it. Let's go to that one. We did that. We did that for Tenet.
Taco Bell.
Yeah, we did that for Tenet. We went to watch Tenet, and it's or like, let's go to that one because we could go to Taco Bell afterwards. And or which one has the best surround sound, which one has the best IMAX, which one has the best 3D experience. So like all of that information is all available, and it all becomes part of the selecting process when you try to decide which movie theater to go to. So it's quite a chore now. And so I'm always letting other people decide. My friends want to watch a movie, I'm like, you tell me which theater to go to and I'll go, because personally it does make or break a viewing experience for me. It's the same. Yeah.
Wow, Alex, I had no idea you were so finicky. My wife and I, we're not like that, actually. There's usually like one or two movies a year that are like, we have to go see this. This is a huge, like Dune or like a Tenet, right? You have to go see these movies because they're like the big movie of the year and is the absolutely must. But sometimes my wife and I are just walking around like, hey, what should we do? Oh, look, there's a movie theater. You want to go? Oh, okay. And we just go. And that's how kind of like we end up in movies.
You know what? I love that.
Yeah. We're just very like,
I love that. I love being like spontaneous.
Yeah, that's actually what we do, like how we do things. Sometimes it's like, oh, there's a museum we need to go to like once a month or oftentimes on the weekends when we're not super busy, we're just like walking around and trying to figure out what to do where all the kids are, like, oh, look, there's a restaurant. Do you want to go there? Yeah, sure. Okay. And so that's just kind of like how we just, whatever happens to be really obvious to us, and that's what we go do.
No, that means you guys are really, really enjoying the moment.
If you ask in America, where do they make movies? Everyone's just going to say Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
Maybe Nicolas Cage tried to open a place in Las Vegas, or some really rich entrepreneur in New York is like, this is the studio, but everyone knows it's Hollywood. So I wanted to ask, like, where do people make movies in China? And is there one place, or is it like diffused across a network of cities? Like, because I never hear of like, this is China's Hollywood. really hear. Like, it doesn't seem like if
Mm,
that's the case. Maybe I just don't know.
we don't have, maybe I am more on the strict side when it comes to, making analogies or saying that this is the A of another country. We don't have something that's quite the same, like Hollywood in China. We do have large film production bases, which are, some of them are in,
Mm, mm, mm.
I think closer to Shanghai. Some of them are closer to Beijing. And then I know that they started doing this in, I think, Chongqing as well, because they have
Mm,
the
mm,
landscape, and a lot of sci-fi or fantasy movies
mm.
really need those places. And it's always a huge initiative from the local government to attract these productions to come to the base that they build for people to shoot movies, and they get
Mm, mm,
either
mm.
tax rebate, and they also at the same time they promote the local,
Okay, you watch a lot of Chinese movies and they're like taking place in a historical place. Like, where it's like 3 stories tall and it goes on for blocks and it's like, where is this place? Like, are there special sets that are like permanent that are used by a lot of movies? And if so, like, where are they? Or are they just going to some place in China and like kind of redecorating it?
So that's what I said. It was the kind of the base. You could call it a film city, but it's not a city. It's like a smaller town in Zhejiang
Mm,
province.
mm,
It's called Hengdian. Like everyone in China knows Hengdian, basically. It's where they built all of those historical architecture that you see. They rebuilt it one to one.
mm.
And so that they could open it up to, it's massive as well. When I say a town, you're like, oh, a little town or whatever. But when you go into it and you see that they have, replicated the entire, for example, the entire Forbidden City,
Wow.
an entire ancient town, and entire, I don't know, like, early 1900s Chinese streets. They made everything brand and the same. So like a lot of,
Mm,
because I think prior to 2000 and prior to 2000, there were still film productions or movie or TV productions that were done in the actual Forbidden City in Beijing. Like they were actually shooting
hmm.
in there,
Wow.
but out of the purpose of protecting a cultural heritage, they
Mhm, mhm,
stopped
mhm,
doing
mhm.
that. But they still need those scenes. So they just built a Forbidden City in that town.
Mm.
And from there, they started building out more scenes,
Wow.
Forbidden City, hunting,
This is in Zhejiang.
Zhejiang province. And
And this is Hengdian City.
yes,
Can anyone just go there and like go inside and take selfies and
I
stuff?
think you can go, but usually productions will have plenty of what we call production assistants, or even if there are famous actors on set, they will have security measures in place to make sure that not any random person would just come on and grab the person to take a selfie in the middle of a take or something. But I don't think I've never been there myself. My friends have.
Mm,
It's
mm,
for some reason, because it's not easy to get to. It's in a
mm,
pretty standalone place. So
mm.
a lot of people go there and live around there. They have given birth to a whole ecosystem around that little town, because it's in the mountainous area, and there's really nothing to do unless you're willing to drive like 40 miles to get to some fun place. But you can't really do that when you're on set, because you're always going back to it and you already have a lot of hours you're working. So people opened restaurants, and they're just small apartments for all of these background actors, extras we call them, to just stay in to rent, and they would stay there, and they would appear in different movies and TV shows as, today I'm a thief, tomorrow I am a taxi driver, and then the day after tomorrow I'm like, like a server.
Professional
Yeah,
extras.
professional extras. They live around there. So it's a whole ecosystem in there. But I don't think people go to that place like as for travel purposes or as a tourist spot,
Mm,
because
mm,
that's the only thing that's there is that town. There's nothing else to do.
mm. There must be a hotel or something. And maybe it can be, like this sounds really interesting. I would love to like pretend I'm in ancient China and like, was it called? Tianmen? It's just not quite cutting it because, you have people walking around with Starbucks behind you.
Exactly. It used to be, Tianmen used to be a lot more. it had a lot more flavor of ancient China. But I think it was like 2005 or 6 when they decided to just,
Let it go. Totally full capitalism
made
mode.
it into what it is today. And
Lego store.
I really miss,
Yeah.
I miss the old Tiananmen. I've been there when it was still like very ancient.
Mm. I have last big question for us to tackle. And, this is not just about China. This is about the United States, everywhere, Europe. Netflix is making its own television shows. And there are a lot of actors that were in movies more than ever who are now moving over into TV and doing really professional television shows, except I think Liam Neeson said no way, he's a cinema snob or something. He won't do TV, so he won't do Star Wars for TV. But a lot of big actors are willing to come over, and it seems like in a lot of ways, television is catching up with cinema as an art form. And I wanted to, you are involved with that. Some of your background and education is around cinema. Do you feel that TV and cinema are kind of merging into one big nexus? Or is TV catching up with cinema, or can cinema stay its own independent thing?
For me, in terms of production, or in terms of the definition that's been set by the industry for so long of what is a big screen production, what is a small screen production, I think that is getting blurred and that is getting updated because TV shows are getting longer. They're, mini the film series where each episode runs for like an hour, if not longer. That is getting blurred. I don't think, or I feel like I have an old soul in me. For example, when the internet came about, people are like, oh, print media is going to die. I'm like, print media is not going to die. Books are not going to die. Same as how I think cinema is not going to die, because it's not just because I like it, because when you go to a cinema, it's a different viewing experience, what we call the a black box viewing experience. Because when you go into a room that is completely darkened and it's a bigger screen, there's no way you're going to have that big of a screen in your house. And when you are watching that movie with a group of people, it's a collective experience that cannot be replicated at home. And there's a lot of things that viewing experience does to people psychologically for them to want to go back, even if there are people that are eating popcorn super loudly, or people who can't stop talking. That's the whole idea of cinema viewing. It gives you, I guarantee you, if you watch the same movie, ideally, if you watch the same movie, and then for some reason, like if we could record everything you remember from watching the movie in the film theater, and then erase your memory of ever watching that movie, and then make you watch it at a very, very nicely decorated, very nicely equipped home theater, and then ask you to repeat what you've seen, it's an absolutely different experience. And I think 9 times out of 10, you will enjoy watching the movie, like a new movie or a movie you want to really watch. You would enjoy that in the movie theater. And the fact that you guys are in a dark space where you can't really see people's faces, it creates a weird sense of safety or security. Like you feel like you don't really care. I don't know about you. Like when I cry during movies, I feel much better crying in a movie theater. I've had a breakdown in a movie theater, like after watching the movie. Yeah, I couldn't move. I couldn't leave after the movie ended. I just sat there and sobbed for like 10 minutes. But when I watch movies with my parents, or even with my boyfriend, when I was watching a movie at home, when I cry, they give me attention. They're like,
"Are you okay, Alex?"
Look at you. They're like, "Oh, look at you. You're crying." And then my parents just get super awkward and stand up and leave. So I can't have the same experience just watching things on a screen, because your eyes, your peripheral vision is going to catch like 10,000 different things that are happening outside of the movie theater. So I don't think movie theater is going away. I think, there are definitely a lot more very, very really well made content on a smaller screen that's more convenient, more portable. You could replay it. You could get all the pluses, channels, and subscriptions so that you can watch all of those really amazing TV shows. But the movie theater gives you that experience is not. I don't think that's replaceable.
No, I mean, I completely agree with you. I just wanted to see what another person thought about that idea without too much of my own feedback. But my experience personally, I like it a lot, and I don't know how to define it as well as you, but I do notice for my wife, it's a big deal, because if I say, let's watch a movie at home, she'll kind of watch it, at it, and then maybe leave or not, or like maybe pay attention or not, or maybe talk or not. But if we're sitting in a cinema and we're watching a movie, her focus increases dramatically, and she's really into what's going on. So I can see the effect on her, and I can see that this must be, for a lot of people.
Same for me. I can't stop looking at my phone when I'm watching a movie at home. I hate myself for that, but it's just very hard for me to stop. But when I'm in a movie theater, at least I'll control myself.
Well, that is all the time we have, and I hope our fans got as much out of listening to you talk about this very interesting topic as I did, and they will rejoin us soon. Goodbye, Alex.
Thank you, Jason, and bye, everybody.